Professor Gалтунг, what about the American Empire? When is it going to be cracking?
I would say before year 2020. Like I said, for the Soviet Empire before 1990, I said that 10 years ahead of time. Here it was out 20 years ahead of time. But it goes quickly now, very, very quickly. The financial crisis, the three wars they are losing, the continents that are turning away from them, particularly Latin America and Japan and so on. They have problems almost everywhere.
What about the future of NATO in general?
Well, the slogan of NATO was out of theater or out of business. They are now out of theater. Afghanistan is not exactly North Atlantic. And it may be that that also means out of business. There are 44 countries more or less participating in Afghanistan. Of course, there are not that many NATO members. Not all of them are. But the point about it is they're losing. But I could also put it this way, they're not winning. Because the resistance is for eternity. And they have limited patience. So this could easily be the end of NATO.
Does Serbia, which has proclaimed military neutrality and is under pressure to join NATO, does Serbia have an alternative to joining NATO?
Well, I would advise against, of course. That doesn't mean that you cannot participate in United Nations ordered action. And it so happened that the action in Afghanistan first was based on the UN resolution. Out of sympathy for 9/11 in 2001. So they attacked on October 7. That attack had been prepared for a long time for other reasons, but that's another matter. Switzerland withdrew from it. And they said, we're not participating because this is not a peacekeeping operation, it's a peace enforcing operation. It's a war. And they withdrew from it. So if Serbia retains its independence of NATO, it can of course participate in legal international peacekeeping operations, but it can also withdraw, like Switzerland did. So I think that would be a very wise policy to follow.
What is the concept of military neutrality inside Europe possible today? Viable?
Let us define it as non-alignment. You see, neutrality as it originally was conceived as was not even to have a position, not to take a stand. I think that's out. That's impossible. We are too closely knit together. But alignment means a certain automaticity, because the alliance says, we are entering the war, you are a part of that alliance, you have signed up for it. So the word is non-alignment, which is a word which is famous in the history of this part of the world. I don't call it West Balkans. To me it is still Yugoslavia. I'm too nostalgic to let that word go. I know perfectly well that state doesn't exist, and I am absolutely convinced that one day in the future there will be some kind of Yugoslav community.
Finally, where do you see as a main focus for security in the future? Will it be energy security, or military security, human security? What is in the next, let's say, 10 to 20 years? What will be the focus?
For the military aspect, conflict resolution. Simply say, try to solve the underlying conflict. That means you have to listen to the other sides and not only to yourself. For the economic aspect, equitable just trade. Now that's a long thing, and that's not easy. The Western liberal capitalism is against it. They say we have a good system when willing seller meets willing buyer, but they are usually at the top and they are pyramids, and down in the pyramids the results can be off. Politically, it means negotiation, and negotiation without arms twisting. And culturally, it means dialogue and mutual learning. Now the US has done the opposite of all this fought. Instead of conflict resolution, intervention. Instead of economic equity, exploitation. Instead of negotiation, arms twisting and walking out. And instead of dialogue, they proclaim that we have a solution to everything. For that reason, they're now going down quickly.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.